All right, taking a look at Hwayoung, she kind of looks very, very broken, but I don't know. All of these new units coming out, I don't know. I think power creep is kind of insane in Epic 7 right now. She does look pretty nice. However, she is a fire warrior. We've been getting a lot of warriors lately, so I don't know too much how I feel about that. So let's take a look at her stats here. So she is a fire warrior, so Libra. She is on the slower end of the warrior spectrum. 109 base speed, so not great, not great. So she's not going to be going first by any means. She does have pretty decent health, some pretty decent, I would say, defense. So gonna be, I would say, bruisery because of the way her kit works. So you're gonna want to build her like as much tank as possible and as much attack as possible. She does have an imprint concentration, which is attack. She also gives effectiveness to the team. But let's take a look at her skills. So Prairie Hawk, this is her skill 2. The caster cannot trigger a critical hit, but attack increases by 35%. So you do have to max Mola this. So that's kind of something that you gotta remember. Some of these units that have been coming out lately, you have to max Mola, right? Like Lionheart Sirmia, she needs max Molas in order to do damage. Now you got Hwayoung. Because of her cannot trigger a critical hit, you're gonna want to max Mola her skill 2 because you want to increase her attack by as much as possible. Damage suffered from a critical hit decreases by 30%. When more than one damage reduction effect is granted, only the strongest effect is applied. At the start of the battle and at the end of the turn, grants a barrier to the caster for 1 turn. Barrier scales off of her attack. So she's getting a lot of damage mitigation here. She's increasing her attack so that when she hits pretty hard. And that's kind of her gimmick, right? And she kind of reminds me of like Strays in a way. You'll see Basar here. Basar, what is this? 2019. So skill number 3, Emperor's Flaming Strike. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. You can soul burn this to get an extra turn. If you Mola this, it's a -1 turn cooldown. After dispelling all debuffs from the caster, she has a full cleanse, attacks the enemy with a secret technique and grants immunity to the caster for 2 turns. She penetrates the target's defense. So that's a theme lately, right? Death Pen penetrates the target's defense. When the target's max health is greater than the caster's max health, damage dealt increases proportional to the difference. So she's going to be good against tanks, right? So you're going to want to bring her in. Again, if you do make her kind of bulky, you can't make her too tanky because you do want there to be that gap, right? That huge difference so that she can death pen by 100%. She can get an extra turn after she skill 3s, so she can potentially just like one-shot anything, right? Any tank, you have to remember that. So she does have attack buff here. You'll see her going with the her S3. She did 20k, 20k on that Crimson Armin. Supersonic kick attacks the enemy with a kick and increases combat readiness of the caster by 10%. So anytime that I see combat readiness manipulation on the S1, I'm gonna say counter, right? I'm gonna say counter so she can push herself up. When the caster is buffed, inflicts additional damage proportional to her attack, whether or not her attack hits. So that's another big reason why counter on her, I think, would be kind of insane, because every time she counters, it doesn't matter whether she hits or not, she's gonna deal additional damage. But again, this is another skill that if you do decide to go counter, you're gonna have to max Mola, or at least +4 because of the combat readiness. And so you want as much combat readiness as you can, so up to 15%. So she's getting that CR push because she is on the slower end. And so they're going up against the Violet here. the additional damage there. And I think they proc the burn from the artifact. So Indestructible Gators, this one is the 5-star artifact that is dropping alongside with her. Increases attack by 10%. If a non-critical hit is made when attacking with a single attack, has a 100% chance to burn for 1 turn. And so burns scale off of attack. So I would say it's perfect for her. However, this is one of those artifacts that you have to max limit break in order to have a 100% chance to burn. And it's burned for 1 turn. So I don't necessarily think it's that great, but it has a built-in increase attack by 10%. So it's one of those where, you know, maybe you just go full attack, like attack set instead, right? Like bulky attack set. You know, there's a couple of different builds that I'm thinking about, but speed, right? Speed. She's not fast enough. So of course, speed is going to help her a lot if you want her to cycle through. Because of the speed 109, it's pretty slow. But moving on, we do have Bad Cat Armin that they teased us. So let's take a look at her.
You and I are worlds apart. I'm the star of this show. The winner of this tournament is going to be me.
So we got Bad Cat Armin. She is the new ML 4-star Dark Warrior, but let's look at her stats. Okay, so she is another warrior, you know, another warrior. We got Lionheart Sermia, we got Hwayoung, we got Bad Cat Armin, we got my boy ML Cookwerick, right? We got Hand Guy. Too many warriors. We got a lot of warriors. 115 base speed, so she is decently fast, right? She's not 109, 115 base speed, so she can kind of run up there with some of the other speedier units, right? So it's something to keep in mind if you're thinking about pulling for this unit and potentially building her. She does have okay health. Defense is pretty good. Her imprint is crit chance. And this is kind of interesting, okay? So she has a crit chance imprint, so that right away tells me that you're gonna wanna build her bruisery, right? You're gonna wanna build her with some type of damage just because of the way her skills are set up. So let's take a look at her skills real quick. So here's her S2, Catch 'em. After being attacked, has a 30% chance to increase critical hit damage of the foremost ally for 1 turn. Before making the foremost ally counterattack. Can I be triggered by extra attacks or counterattacks? So she's providing support here, right? So she's a warrior providing support. This is up to a 40% chance to give the foremost ally crit damage buff and making them counterattack. Now, I'm not too sure how this is gonna work. I don't know if it's like a counterattack buff or they just counter. I think it's just that they just counter when you get hit. Yeah, so you see there's the Landy. The forehead goes, AoEs, triggers the skill 2, makes her counter with that crit damage buff. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool because then whenever you go with that unit, they're going to have a crit damage buff. If you Mola this up, which again, you're going to have to max Mola because it's up to a 40% chance. And you're going to want that max Mola because you want her to proc the crit damage. Now, I don't know if the 40% that you get after Mola also affects the counter or if it's like an innate counter. Like the 30% is the crit damage buff, but then she always counters or the unit always counters. It's probably a 40% chance for the crit damage buff and to counter, right? It's probably those 2 checks, but I don't know. I guess we kind of wait and see. It does look pretty strong. Her skill 3 here. So this is what you know. I'm not too sure about. Okay, so her skill 3 is this it. Nyahaha attacks the enemy with a huge explosion before granting increased speed to the caster for 2 turns. and a barrier to all allies for 2 turns. So a lot of support, right? A lot of support, damage dealt, and barrier strength increases proportional to the caster's max. So health scaling bruiser, right? Health scaling bruiser. So you're going to want to build her tanky. She is a warrior, so she can't really hold damage sharing artifacts, but she is giving those barriers and increased speed for 2 turns. If this is on a 5-turn cooldown, if you soul burn this, which is only 10 souls, it's actually pretty cheap. It decreases it by 2 turns. So if you do Mola this up, it's 4 turns. You soul burn. This can potentially be on a 2-turn cooldown. So if you build her somewhat fast, she's gonna cycle through, right? She's gonna cycle through the skill 3 quite a bit, giving everybody barriers, giving everybody that increased speed. But you also have to remember she is going to be a bruiser. So if you do want any kind of damage, you'll see her go with the S3 here. She's 18k, okay? So she's not insane. And it's a single target hit. You gotta remember that. So they go on the kick work there. Hand guy, she does 4k damage, which is okay for a single target, right? You have to remember it's a single target hit, so I'm not too convinced by that. She is still providing a lot of support with the barriers, but it kind of looks like the increased speed to the caster. Okay, so you see, I was thinking it was an AoE increased speed, but I think that would have been too good. So it looks like it's only increased speed for her for 2 turns, and the barriers to all allies. So, I mean, okay, she is potentially cycling a lot faster, right? If you build her really, really fast with some bulkiness, she gets that increased speed. So she's cycling through, you're soul burning this, but again, it didn't do too much damage, right? But I think what you really want to do is cycle to use the S1. So this is the one that I thought was kind of interesting, and I don't know, injuries. Anytime there's injuries do not work, stop trying to put injuries in everything. But hey, maybe bad Cat Armin can make it work. So are you ready? Attacks the enemy with a giant shield, inflicting injury. So this is her skill 1. Keep that in mind. Damage dealt increase proportional to the caster's max health. So again, health scaling bruiser. So the tankier that you make her, the more damage she's going to do. The severity of injuries increases proportional to the damage dealt. Injuries decrease max health by up to 5%. When used on the caster's turn, Are You Ready changes into an attack that targets all enemies. So it's an AoE whenever it's used on her own turn. So forget about counter. That's not going to work. Okay. So injuries. Are you really going to be able to take advantage of the S1? Yes and no, potentially, right? So if you build her fast, she does give herself speed buff, right? She can potentially cycle through very, very quickly, hitting everybody with the S1 over and over and over. But again, you have to keep in mind, what does the damage look like? What does the damage look like? She didn't crit here. She did about 2k and a little bit less than 1k on everybody. But you have to remember, she is hitting everybody with injury. So ideally, you would build her with some type of crit, as much crit chance as you can. That's why she has that built-in crit chance imprint. So, I mean, does she look insanely broken? No, I don't think so. I think that she's going to be a good support unit, but she doesn't look all that much of a power creep compared to like AOL, right? Compared to other units. She doesn't have any kind of cleanse. She has some mitigation, but I think install comps, she's going to be great, and she's going to be good if you're lacking like an injury set. You know, I think that she's going to be a pretty good unit at providing that type of support. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like always, if you haven't enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who like content like this. Are you going to be pulling for these two? Let me know. Like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.